Welcome. My name is Anthony Patch, and we are going to be together for about 15 minutes, just kind of some of the news headlines in the world of science. We're calling this segment AI Supremacy through DNA. So biological aspects of artificial intelligence, where it's making its intrusions, what its impacts are. We only have 15 minutes, so we're just going to give you the headline, the touch points. And the hope is that you will then take these topics and particular areas that I'm citing, company names, etc., and research that on your own. If you'd like to join myself for a longer explanation, you can do so through Patreon, through my live streams on Wednesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and also on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But to get right into the headlines without wasting too much time here, biodiversity threats. That's the first thing that I would like to offer to you. And if you'll look on the screen here, you'll see our graphic for this. And essentially, biosecurity threats arise from the synthesis of the human DNA, as well as animal and plant DNA, but in particular, we are talking about human genomes that are sequenced and segments of the human genome, segments of DNA that are now being produced by laboratories around the world as, you might call them, starter DNA, just not the complete genome, but segments of it that they are mass producing. These are assembly line factory productions of DNA that are then purchased by laboratories for further research. The issue in terms of biosecurity is utilizing AI to determine if there are sequences that have been artificially manipulated, DNA that's been bioengineered, into a weapons grade genome. So this is a whole new arms race. This is a whole new way of looking at threats. And oftentimes we've heard of biological threats that have arisen from biolaboratories creating viruses and bacteria and things like that. Now what we're faced with are threats from DNA, from modifications to DNA, both animal and human DNA. And so on the positive note, in terms of artificial intelligence, it's being used as a threat detector. Okay? Oftentimes I talk about the malevolent aspects of artificial intelligence, but in this particular example, it is being used for a benevolent purpose. Now, of course, you could take it to the extreme and say, well, AI could also be used for generating biological threats, and that is certainly the case as well. And so this is where those in the nefarious world certainly could use AI for the development of artificial strains of DNA. And this is done in computer, what is I often refer to as in silico DNA. This is the modeling of the basic structure of DNA, starting with the amino acids and using the base pairs that comprise a sequence of DNA, even a short strand of DNA, not the complete genome, but modeling this in the computer, in software, in silico first, and then outputting the result of that modeling through bioprinters, three-dimensional 3D bioprinters. Now, I won't get too deep into that because we don't have too much time, but the idea here is that AI is being used to counter a bio threat, establishing some level of biosecurity by screening DNA that agencies, government agencies, will obtain and screen it. And the time period for this screening, the turnaround to determine whether it's a threat or not, is 2 weeks. Now that sounds like a long time, but if you look at the history of the mapping of DNA and the determining of the sequence of DNA, and then the ability to produce, even artificially, strands of DNA. 2 weeks is remarkably short, and that's advancing at the speed that AI is advancing. Okay, so that's our first topic. The second topic is Nebula Genomics. This is a company that was founded by Dr. George Church, and he's affiliated with Harvard. But Dr. George Church is someone I would recommend that you do some investigative reporting, do some research on your own, if you will, into his background. But the focus here is that what Nebula is offering is the free mapping of your genome, the complete genome, not just identifying in your genome sample where you may have some health risks, where they're able to identify things like cancer or heart issues, perhaps even things like Alzheimer's. What they're doing is providing you a complete history, medical as well as your historical, your lineage from your DNA. Now, ostensibly they will say that they will do this free of charge, provided you answer a fairly lengthy questionnaire about your medical history, about your personal history, about your education, your economic status, those kinds of things. Very, very detailed questions. And in return, at no charge, they will sequence your DNA. They will give you your history, medical as well as lineage. In return for answering those questions, they will provide you with tokens. These tokens are cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrency that is specifically produced by Nebula Genomics. And all of your data, when you think of cryptocurrency, naturally you think of blockchain. Well, that's exactly where your genome map, your genetic code resides, is in the blockchain. Now, without getting too far into talking about blockchain, but blockchain is billed as being a decentralized platform that is secure and cannot be hacked. Well, it's secure because it's encrypted information. The holders of the keys to that encryption process are centralized. So it is not, blockchain is not a truly decentralized platform. Those that hold the keys to decrypting the information are centralized control over that. So again, something to take a look at, but it is not necessarily just 23andMe and places like that, where they're providing just a limited historical background on your DNA. Nebula is providing the whole thing, but at a cost. It's all of your information, essentially, is what they're seeking. Okay, so that's Dr. George Church for you to take a look at. And the last item here that I would like to offer to you is a company that I've spoken a great deal about over the years, is Sanctuary.ai. That's their URL, Sanctuary.ai. And if you would take a look at that website, you'll find that it's just a landing page. It's just a very dark, it sort of looks like a spiral at this point, and they change the graphic every once in a while, but it's password protected. You cannot move past the landing page. What are they into? They are into creating synthetic life forms. They build themselves through Dr. Suzanne Gildert, who is one of the founders, along with Dr. Geordie Rose, both of whom come from D-Wave, quantum computing, over to Sanctuary.ai. But their stated goal is to create synthetic life forms that are indistinguishable. That's their word. These are their words. Creating synthetic life forms that are indistinguishable from humans. Now that includes the artificial intelligence that it is imbued with, not just a robot body, if you will, a synthetic body, but this is a body that is being biologically constructed. So take what I've just given you about the ability to model DNA in silico, the ability to then grow organisms from an artificially an artificially designed construct of DNA, the arrangement of the building blocks, the arrangement of the base pairs, to create a life form. Now, they're not creating life. They have to have something as a substrate that is already living. Most of the time they use Ebola because it's very robust, but they are then growing from that base life form a new biological construct. This is what is going on behind the scenes at Sanctuary.ai. These are not going to be, even though you will see images, if you go to Google Images, you'll see things that look like robots. But what they're really doing is they are growing biological synthetic life forms. These are not plastic and all of that in terms of synthetic. This is synthetic DNA, and therefore will, for all intents and purposes, appear to be indistinguishable from humans. This is not conjecture, okay? And along with that, their stated goal, as well as the indistinguishable scenario, is building and scaling embodied artificial general intelligence. This means that the synthetic life form will be imbued with artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence. So let's take a look very quickly at a definition provided to us from Wikipedia of artificial general intelligence. Is the intelligence of a machine that has the capacity to understand and learn any intellectual task that a human being can. It is a primary goal of some artificial intelligence research and a common topic in science fiction and future studies. Some researchers refer to artificial general intelligence as strong AI, full AI, true AI, or as the ability of a machine to perform general intelligent action. Others reserve strong AI for machines capable of experiencing consciousness. So in addition to the appearance that is indistinguishable, it is the mind, the artificial intelligence. And I don't have time to go into discussing about the mind, but Dr. Geordie Rose publicly has spoken, and I will address this in the live stream on Sunday, has spoken publicly about their focus is upon the human mind and the ability to replicate and then to achieve supremacy. And this is why I said to you yesterday, we were talking about quantum computers achieving supremacy over classical computers. Here in the biological discussion, in the DNA discussion, the goal is to achieve supremacy of the human mind through artificial general intelligence. So again, I want to reinforce to you, be on the lookout for the word supremacy in all scientific disciplines. And I'm just taking you down that trail at this point on a couple of areas: quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and DNA as it relates to supremacy. But this is the goal in all areas of science, which affect all areas of our human body and our human mind, is to achieve supremacy over the original design that God created. We are created in the image of God, both in appearance and in function. And it is the stated goal within technology, the science of the craft in the Greek, is to achieve supremacy over God's design. So that is the agenda that is afoot. And that brings us to the end of today's science segment. But again, I would ask you to take a look at biosecurity threats, look at Nebula Genomics, the company, and this last company is Sanctuary.ai. Now, a little bit of a programming note. I am scheduled for Saturday on Arc Midnight with John B. Wells. Received an invitation today, so that will be taking place from 10 until midnight Central Time, or for us on the East Coast, it's very late. It will be 11 p.m. Eastern Time until 1 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday on terrestrial radio Arc Midnight. You can find that online and listen to it live online as well. So thank you, John B., and I appreciate that. And thank you to all of my patrons who allow me to be their researcher and reporter. And with that, I say thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you. And we are planning on doing many more of these new segments. And as John B. likes to refer to me, sort of as the science officer. Okay, so be it. I don't have the ears for it. All righty, my friends. Thank you very much.